One very important thing that everyone, especially the Chechens, should be aware of. Let's try to explain it briefly and clearly. We'll start with the basics. It's clear to everyone that the Kadyrovites are the proxies of the Russian occupiers, nurtured, installed, and supported by Russia. Without Russia, the Kadyrovites would immediately lose power. But beyond this foundation, misconceptions about the independence of the Kadyrovites begin, and it is precisely Russia that is actively working on creating the illusion of the Kadyrovites' independence. We should have the impression that Russia has occupied our land, but handed the region over to the Kadyrovites. In occupied Chechnya, was someone kidnapped? It was done by the Kadyrovites. In occupied Chechnya, was someone tortured? It was done by the Kadyrovites. Someone got killed in occupied Chechnya. That was also done by the Kadyrovites. Yes, technically that's true because it's the Kadyrovites who do all this dirty work. But who, staying in the shadows, gives them orders and controls everything? The media play a huge role in creating this illusion, even those that are oppositional to the Russian authorities. It is worth carefully rereading the same articles by Elena Milashina, the most well-known journalist at the moment, exposing crimes related to Kadyrov, to understand the message they want to implant in our minds. The Kadyrovites killed 27 people, and the FSB is unhappy about it. Kadyrov kidnapped a person, and the FSB wanted to prevent it but failed. It creates the impression that Kadyrov is a strong and independent figure, rivaling the FSB itself, and they, in turn, very much want to establish a wonderful and lawful regime in the occupied Chechnya, but the evil Chechens, in the form of the Kadyrovites, do not allow them to do so. This is a very far-sighted and well-thought-out strategy that many, unfortunately, do not understand. During the First War, the FSB realized that fighting a united people is problematic, costly, lengthy, and unprofitable. But if the people are maximally divided by giving formal power to a certain group that is ready to carry out any criminal order, then in the end, Russia will have a good alibi for the future. If anything goes wrong, they can always throw Kadyrov and the Kadyrovites under the bus, blaming all the crimes on them and presenting themselves as the saviors of the people. What is even more important is that the Chechen people experience cognitive dissonance when it seems like Russia has occupied us. But you are kidnapped, tortured, and oppressed by people who speak your native language and call themselves true Chechens and Muslims. So, who do you take revenge on then? Of course, at first, the oppressed will try to take revenge on those who directly participated in their oppression. We have heard many stories from the tortured themselves, where they were surprised that the Kadyrovites were cruel to them, while the FSB officers almost always played the role of kind cops. Smart, right? Because tomorrow these FSB agents can say, "What complaints do you have against us? It wasn't us who oppressed you, but people from your own nation, meaning you are fighting among yourselves, and we have nothing to do with it." But what do we have in reality? In reality, we have a situation where the FSB controls absolutely everything in occupied Chechnya, while remaining in the shadows. The Kadyrovites play the role of attack dogs for them, doing all the dirty work on their behalf. If a dog attacks you after its owner unleashes it, and then watches as it bites you, who is more to blame, the dog or its owner? Behind every district police department in occupied Chechnya, and behind every more or less significant employee and official, there is an FSB handler controlling their work from the shadows. If you are kidnapped, the FSB is aware of it. They can give orders to the Kadyrovites from the shadows, telling them whom to kill, whom to imprison, and whom to release. Or they might not intervene if the matter doesn't interest them. The Kadyrovites have a certain degree of freedom, but only within the limits set by the FSB. Who killed the pregnant Benazir Kamidova, her husband and her husband's brother? The Kadyrovites, having first killed the child in her womb. Who gave the order to do this? FSB. Who killed those 27 people abducted in 2017? The Kadyrovites. Who gave the order? The FSB. Who kidnapped the residents of the Shali district? The Kadyrovites. Who gave them orders? The FSB. Do you understand this chain of command? This means that the Kadyrovites are not absolved of responsibility. It's just important to identify those who are behind them. Behind any crime committed by the Kadyrovites stands the FSB, which means Russia. Recently, this narrative has been especially actively promoted by the Kadyrovites. They say, "Look, we are the masters of Chechen land, and Kadyrov is the leader." Even in the interview of Jumbatov with Chingiz Akhmetov, the latter states that all leadership positions in the Republic are held by Chechens, and the entire spectacle with Jumbatov is aimed at convincing us that the Kadyrovites truly govern the occupied Chechnya. But even the arrival of Jambatov and his promotion is the work of the FSB. The Russians are unhappy in their groups, saying, how could the Kadyrovites allow the amnesty of someone who fought against them? Just like Timur Mutsurayev was amnestied, that is, through the FSB, the Kadyrovites never decide anything serious without the FSB. Even to the Russian people, they instill the idea that Russia is good, and the Kadyrovites are the Chechen evil that they are forced to keep because all Chechens are like that. And to any claims, even from the Russians themselves, they will respond, again, well, they are doing it to themselves. That's just how they are, wild, brutal, and uneducated. So we just need to leave these Chechens in their animal world and not interfere, as long as there is no war. The main thing is that we are kind and good,